Imagine a camera so powerful that it makes even seasoned professionals pause, raise an eyebrow, and genuinely rethink the ceiling of what's possible. The Nikon Z9 II is not just another release in a long product line. It's Nikon's bold declaration that the future of photography is being rewritten. And this time, it's being written by them. Welcome back to TapTech, the channel that prides itself on keeping you ahead of every tech curve before the rest even realizes the road has shifted. If you're passionate about next-generation precision, frame-by-frame dominance, and hardware that carries the weight of industry evolution, you'll want to stick around until I cut to that final thought, because this camera might just be the reason entire studios update their inventory. We already know mirrorless performance. We have lived through its evolution. The Nikon Z9 was an absolute powerhouse, a mechanical marvel. And for many, it was the moment they realized that mirrors were soon going to be symbols of the past. It was a dual-purpose beast, a monster that handled both still photography and cinema-grade video with a calm confidence that made competitors sweat. But the Z92, this is Nikon doubling down, tightening the screws, upgrading the silicon, and building an entirely new throne for high-end creators to sit on. Nikon knows that a flagship in 2025 doesn't survive on nostalgia alone. It survives through innovation, ruthless speed, and the kind of feature set that leaves no room for debate. When stacked against giants like the Sony A1, Canon R1, and even emerging prosumer cinema tools, Nikon clearly approached the drawing board with a mindset of either revolution or redundancy. The rumors alone have ignited speculation in communities like Reddit filmmakers, peer review forums, professional content creator groups, and wedding studio circles where reliability is literally business. The Z9 II is expected to carry an all-new stacked CMOS sensor, possibly sitting at 4.6 MP or even tipping into the unconfirmed 5.2 MP territory. That means insane levels of micro detail. The kind of pixel density that allows you to zoom into the reflection of a bird's eye and still retain image integrity, depth, and color clarity. Nikon is rumored to be pairing this stacked sensor with a brand new X-speed processor configuration, possibly dual processor driven, which means faster sensor readouts, drastically improved noise floors, cleaner file straight out of camera, and a smoother pipeline for computational photography enhancements without moving the camera into overheating danger zones. One of the biggest upgrades every photographer is yelling about is autofocus. The Z9 introduced 3D tracking, deep learning assisted focus models, and subject recognition AI long before other brands even committed to on-device learning systems. But the Z9 II is positioned to take that foundation, pour rocket fuel into it, and fly past competitors still arguing about 24-megapixel redundancy. Expect smarter subject detection that identifies people, birds, animals, vehicles, even patterns within unpredictable motion, such as flocks of birds shifting directions at sunrise, children running in chaotic playground lighting, or a rhino charging through a silhouette-dominant jungle clearing. There are whispers that the autofocus model is next generation. AI adaptive, continuously learning and fine-tuning in micro-burst computing cycles, ensuring near-perfect precognitive subject focus. For professionals who shoot sports games, wildlife safaris, psychological documentary filmmaking, or ceremonial shoots in sandstorms or snow, this becomes less of a feature and more of a survival advantage. And yes, speed is the camera's middle name in this narrative. The Nikon Z9 II is expected to carry burst rates hitting 30 FPS or 40 fps without blackout, full resolution, and zero frame buffer lag, which is insane considering that mechanical shutter legacies still struggle to give 12 fps stability. That means you can capture a peregrine falcon mid-dive against a high-contrast sky without rolling shutter ruining the shot. Speaking of rolling shutter, Nikon is rumored to have worked aggressively on sensor readout latency reduction, ensuring that jello warping becomes rare even for handheld street videographers walking fast at night markets or holding the camera out the window of a moving SUV with no stabilization rigs present. Video creators are going to love this part. Nikon clearly knows that creators shoot more video than photographers ever expected back in 2010. Which is why the Z9 II might finally turn an 8K capture Pipeline into a fully internal system at 60 FPS or 120 fps shooting 12-bit. RAW internally without external recorders becoming mandatory. That means you effectively carry a cinema camera brain baked inside a photography body. That's massive. That's studio shifting. That means you bring a memory card-fed workflow from camera to editing timeline with less compression loss, better color bit depth, and better grading latitude inside tools like DaVinci Resolve. Nikon might even introduce 8000 ProRes RAW internally, but even without that confirmation. The fact that Nikon is oversampling 4K from 8K already means razor-tight 4K output that murders skin tone banding, shadow failure, highlight clipping, and low light fuzz. Now let's talk low light, a domain Nikon has never struggled in. Full-frame Nikon sensors have always handled shadows, high ISO, and night detailing like black magic whispered into silicon. But the Z9 II might push ISO 25600 into usable territory without noise reduction. Nooking micro-detailing, meaning photographers shooting street scenes with neon reflections on wet roads, astrophotographers capturing the Milky Way, or wedding photographers handling candle-lit ceremonies without turning people into watercolor mush will have the confidence that Olympus shooters have had to fake with tripod stacking tricks for years. That confidence alone is career-altering. Design-wise, Nikon is not expected to mutate the DNA too drastically, which is smart because the Nikon Z9 already perfected grip ergonomics, build confidence, heat dissipation structure, and magnesium alloy architecture. But the Z9 II might introduce lighter, more thermal-smart material architecture, ensuring ergonomic comfort doesn't get sacrificed for sensor and battery upgrades. That brings us to the battery leap. Nikon has been surprisingly good at getting maximum runtime from smaller hardware. But the Z92 is rumored to utilize the same cell family but squeeze 15 to 20% more efficiency simply through better processor power management, USB-C power delivery, computing distribution, AI stress scheduling, and firmware level optimization. That means a camera that lasts longer without getting heavier, a grip that feels familiar without declining comfort after 4 hours of continuous filming. That's a smart update. Storage, not a bottleneck. Expect dual Express Type B slots delivering read-write speeds so fast that photographers shooting 40 FPS bursts and filmmakers capturing 8K files will never hit a choke point. That means RAW to card A, JPEG plus cache to card B, or 8K RAW to A, 4K edit proxy to B for instant post-targeting workflows without plugging the camera into a laptop mid-shoot. Nikon is rumored to lean heavily into connectivity upgrades to possibly Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, direct FTP photo transmission, real-time cloud handshake transfers, and the kind of sharing pipeline that used to exist only in press conference stadium environments. That means photographers at sporting events like FIFA Finals or DP, shooters working on jungle expedition documentaries will be able to transmit bursts of curated shorts directly to editors sitting thousands of miles away without removing the memory card. That's insane. That's professional. That's future forward. But despite all this, let's talk about the one feature everyone is going to weaponize against Nikon: the lack of open gate recording. Literally every competitor, even phones like the Oppo Flagship, have embraced open gate for framing flexibility. Yet Nikon might still stick to 16:9 filmmaking pipelines with no direct 3:2, or 4:3 sensor read capture options that help vertical shooters unleash maximum framing freedom. That one flaw is not a deal-breaker unless you're an anamorphic shooter or someone who likes reframing vertically in post-production, which is still a minority group. But that minority is loud. They are Reddit loud. They are YouTube comment loud. They are director-selfish gearheads who swear by format freedom. Now let's talk price, because flagship dominance always carries emotional damage. This camera is expected to sit between $5,500 and $6,000, similar to or slightly above what the Nikon Z9 launched at, depending on final spec confirmation. That is a punch to the liver, no doubt. But when you stack it against cameras like the Sony A1 or Canon R1, This pricing footprint no longer feels delusional. It feels strategic. Nikon is essentially telling the world, we came to compete. We did not come to apologize. And that's exactly what excites me the most. This camera isn't just about megapixels, frame rates, codecs, or battery bumps. It's about confidence. It's about reliability. It's about giving photographers and filmmakers a tool that does 99% of the job so well that the 1% feels like nitpicking instead of tragedy. So, what do I think? Do I think the Nikon Z9 II is going to be the camera that finally pushes Nikon ahead of Canon and Sony again? Possibly, not guaranteed. But possible. Nikon has always been that quiet genius that releases something insanely powerful after a period of silence.
It happened with the Nikon Z9.
It might happen again with the Z9 II. The main question is, are we still waiting for that one killer feature that makes it untouchable? The answer is yes and no. No open gate is disappointing. But stacked sensor, 40 FPS burst, 8K 120 internal 12-bit RAW, class-leading autofocus.